I mean, it's the Pentagon. I would assume that they record their surveillance footage. Call me crazy. It's closed-circuit television, which means that it went somewhere.
I think there's something really suspicious about it. Why would they want to cover that up if they aren't really hiding something? Where do these giant titanium engines go? You've got the wings out here to the side. Where are the engines? Engines would knock holes in that facade. They'd at least leave indentations.
But, it could have been a plane with damn explosives on it. I mean, it could have, how can somebody not understand that,
Yep.
It could have been a plane that shot a missile. How can somebody not understand that?
Mm-hmm.
There are. If I'm wrong, correct me. But aren't there the famous Naudette brothers or whatever it is, the plane hitting? Don't it show it shooting the damn missile in the building right before it hits?
There's that bright light that hits before 175 and 11. There was a bright flash.
Yeah.
Well, I think
why not the same thing at the Pentagon?
My God.
You're at this point, if you're in the truth movement, pretty exasperated with the lack of results. 21 years later, here we are, still talking about no planes, no hijackers, space beams, CGI, hologram, physical airplanes, crisis actors, the Illuminati, New World Order, Zio-Nazis, et cetera, et cetera. Now, unless you're not interested in going further, that you're comfortable staying where you are, commiserating with like-minded people, a select group of people that only you have specific information that points to a select group of people. That's them. They're the evil ones. They did 9/11. If that's the best you can do, you failed. I'm talking to the people who want more, much more than just sitting in a room, sitting in a conference with like-minded people, stuck in an echo chamber that goes nowhere. Now, I study 9/11. I've been doing it for 13 years now. And I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. You have a few people who claim to know most of the answers, but they're lying to you. But in this video, I want to try and invigorate those people in the truth movement who aren't that far off into fringe conspiracy land, who have questions like me, but you are wanting more. This video is for you because I'm going to be playing some clips from the Joint House inquiry where the CIA is being interviewed about information relating to, yes, hijackers, Al-Qaeda members. Because if we don't have hijackers, we don't have anybody to blame. Now, does that mean that the hijackers are the only ones to blame? No. But if you want to get to the heart of the matter, if you want to have names and not just buildings to point to, but then in your mind saying, oh, I think that Larry Silverstein imploded his own buildings, but you can't prove it. Well, leave it to the side for now, because the information I'm going to be sharing with you is not secret. It's not covert. I didn't get it from a guy in a basement with a long coat paying him $50,000 for it. It's public. It's public information. But you didn't bother to study it because if you don't believe in hijackers, what's the sense? All right. Let's talk about a certain member of the Joint House Inquiry, Carl Levin. Now, for those who sit here and say, well, you know what? 9/11 Commission is full of it. They believe in the official narrative, even though the official narrative is quite vague. I don't think most people have read the 9/11 Commission report, but they claim that everything in it is wrong. Well, guess what? Not everything in it is wrong, but not everything in it is right. In fact, most stuff pertaining to 9/11, most information is missing. It's a missing report, an incomplete one. They told a story, but they didn't tell everything, nearly anything. But there was a Joint House Inquiry. Now, same thing, but they were just specific on intelligence. So I'm going to be playing some clips for you to watch, and then I'm going to explain what's going on so that you can say, that makes sense, or that doesn't make sense. Let's start with this one.
Ms. Hill's report. It stated the following. On June 11th, 2001, FBI headquarters representatives and CIA representatives met with the New York FBI agents handling the Cole investigation. The New York agents were shown but not given copies of the photographs that they and told that they were taken in Malaysia. They weren't told that. Still, information being withheld. This is after the Cole. Information withheld from the FBI. One of the New York agents recalled that Al-Midar's name was being mentioned. He also recalled asking for more information on why the people in the photographs were being followed. So we got an FBI now asking the CIA, why are you following these folks? He recalled asking for more information on why they were being followed and for access to that information. The New York agents were advised they could not be told why Al-Midhar and the others were being followed. This is truly unbelievable. I've got to tell you all, this is extraordinary. This has got nothing to do with information which can't cross a wall. This has to do with leads which are not shared with the FBI. Just simple leads.
What's he talking about there? No, it's pretty easy, all right? Now, you're going to be hearing these two names because I'm just going to stick with just two hijackers in this video, right? So these two names are Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. They're the most senior al-Qaeda members of 9/11. The other guys haven't been in the group for long. These guys have been around, okay? They served in Chechnya. They were with al-Qaeda in Chechnya. They were allegedly, in part, behind or involved with the bombing of a U.S. naval vessel, the USS Cole, in October of 2000. They were allegedly part of or involved with the 1998 East Africa bombings, okay? So these guys had experience with al-Qaeda at some level, at some capacity, so much so that the CIA was following these two guys, monitoring them. One of them was living in a house in Yemen, Khalid al-Mihdhar, because he was married to the daughter of the owner of the house, Ahmed al-Harith. The CIA was bugging this house. They were monitoring this house, and so was the NSA. They were bugging the house, the phone anyway. They were monitoring the phone. CIA had a bug inside the house. They didn't have a bug on the phone. So that's how they found out about Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. So both of these guys went to a high-level summit meeting, al-Qaeda summit meeting in Malaysia in January of 2000. From there, those two guys that were being monitored at that meeting by Malaysian authorities acting on orders from the CIA, who were monitoring them since 1998, then flew to the United States. But before they did that, they went to a hotel. And while they were in the hotel, the CIA took photographs of their passports. Their passports were sent to the Bin Laden issue station in Maryland, which was a virtual station run by the CIA, where other agencies worked there too. Now, Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, al-Qaeda agents. CIA declared war on al-Qaeda in 1999 after the embassy bombings, okay, in response. They're coming to the United States. Well, that's the FBI's jurisdiction. So, Carl Levin, member of the Joint House Inquiry, is asking Tom Wilshire, who's behind a booth in that meeting, who is the deputy director of the Bin Laden issue station, the number 2 man. The deputy chief is Richard Blee from 99 to 2001, Michael Short from 96 to 99. But he's asking him, when the CIA went to Washington and spoke with an FBI agent there, and that guy was Steve Bongard, he showed him photographs of the 2 men, Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi. He's asking him, who are these men? In other words, he's fishing to see what the FBI knew, because at this point, the FBI doesn't know anything. I'm going to get to that in a minute more deeply. But the FBI says, I don't know who they are. Can you tell me? And the CIA agent says, no, I can't. Why not? That CIA agent is Clark Shannon. He's a liaison officer of the counterterrorism unit. So, because there are 2 hijackers inside the United States, remember, the CIA is not legally operating inside the United States. They're not allowed. That's why the Department of Justice, the FBI, is, when these 2 men were inside the United States, it was up to them to start monitoring Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, which would have been right. But the CIA didn't want them to follow these 2 men. Why isn't the Truth Movement talking about this? Here we have a CIA name. I'm telling you the name, Clark Shannon. He's meeting with an FBI agent in Washington, Steve Bongard. He's asking him, who are the men in the picture? Bongard doesn't know, because the FBI doesn't know there's 2 hijackers inside the United States. And Clark Shannon doesn't tell them, because when Steve Bongard says, hey, by the way, who are these guys that you're following? I can't tell you. I can't tell you. Wow. I got more. How about this one?
First focus, Mr. Tennant.
Well, let me reverse it. And let's share it, because this is even better.
First focus, Mr. Tennant, on the question of the watch list, which you've talked about in your testimony. What reason specifically here? I don't want just a general answer here that there was a lot of workload and so forth, but what reason was given specifically by the CIA person responsible for putting that name on the watch list as to the failure to do so?
We're not putting the name on the watch list. Our judgment is in talking to everybody working at the time that there were uneven standards, poor training, and we didn't give
that specific failure? All those reasons for that specific
Yes, sir,
failure?
we did not. Everybody, the people involved, or people who have access, who we've talked to, acknowledge that there were uneven practices, bad training, and a lack of redundancy. The fact that they were swamped does not mitigate the fact that we didn't overcome that with either redundancy, a separate unit, or better training.
Have you identified the person or persons who are responsible to put that name on the watch list?
We know who was working this case.
My question is, though, do you know the name or names of the persons who are responsible for putting those names on the watch list? That's my question.
Yes, sir, I think I have.
All right.
Now, let's talk about who's responsible for putting Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi on the watch list, okay? because they weren't on the watch list, even though these are known Al-Qaeda operatives who committed or have been in part at some level behind the USS Cole bombing and the 98 East Africa bombings. At some level, acting as intermediaries or being a part of the operation, what have you, okay? No, they're not on the watch list. Why not? If the CIA is at war with Al-Qaeda, and George Tenet, you just saw him, that's the director of the CIA, the DCI, if he said in 1999 that we're at war with Al-Qaeda, and yet he knows there are two Al-Qaeda operatives leaving from Malaysia, going to the United States, doesn't inform the FBI, doesn't inform the State Department yet, and still doesn't put them on the watch list. Why not? Why not? Why ain't the truth movement all over this? Why? You got to ask yourself why. Yeah, it gets better. There's more because I have a whole bunch more. So let's look at this clip. Then I'll talk about some more.
March 5th, the CIA learns that Hazmi had actually entered the United States on January 15th, 7 days after leaving the Al-Qaeda meeting in Malaysia. So now the CIA knows Hazmi is in the United States, but the CIA still doesn't put Hazmi or Midhar on the watch list and still does not notify the FBI about a very critical fact. A known Al-Qaeda operative, we're at war with Al-Qaeda, a known Al-Qaeda operative got into the United States. My question is, do you know specifically why the FBI was not notified of that critical fact at that time?
The cable that came in from the field at the time, sir, was labeled information only, and I know that nobody read that cable.
But my question is, do you know why the FBI was not notified of the fact that an Al-Qaeda operative now was known in March of the year 2000 to have entered the United States? Why was the CIA, why did the CIA not specifically notify the CIA? That's my question. The FBI.
Sir, if we weren't aware of it, when it came in the headquarters, we couldn't have notified them. Nobody read that cable in March, in the March timeframe.
So that the cable that said that Hazmi had entered the United States came to your headquarters, nobody read it?
Yes, sir. It was an information-only cable from the field, and nobody read that information-only cable.
Should it have been read?
Yes, of course, in hindsight.
And should it have been read at the time?
Of course it should have been read.
All right, my question is, do you know who should have read it?
I don't know that, sir.
Well, that's not true. By the way, let me offer some insight about the last video. The person who's supposed to be putting those names on the watch list is Michelle Ann Casey. She's actually the head lead of the Yemen hub that I talked about from this counterterrorism unit. As for nobody reading that cable, well, here's the big one, because this is actually, this might be perjury on Tenet's part. Now, we can't really prove that he didn't read the cable or read the cable. We're not sure, but we know a whole lot of people read that cable. In fact, 53 counterterrorism agents read that cable. That's coming from Lawrence Wright in the Looming Tower, as well as liaison officers who were on loan to the Bin Laden issue station. One such person is Mark Rossini of the FBI. His counterpart, Doug Miller, also from the FBI, was one of the people who actually read that cable. And because he saw these two guys trying to enter the United States, he was going to write a cable. Well, why don't we listen to Mark Rossini himself tell you the story about why the cable was never sent, or his inquisitiveness about the cable.
Investigation 101. So the 9/11 Commission, while I praise the effort of the Commission and their dedication to getting to the truth and the investigators behind it, the one question that has never been answered as to why was Doug's memo not released? And thank God for Doug writing that memo, because if he didn't write that memo, there would be no record of 2 FBI agents trying to push it forward, me being one of them. So you have to ask yourself, if we were not there, no one would know. But moreover, ask yourself, and know this, Sean, that regardless of Doug and I being there that day, they had a responsibility to tell the FBI, because you're talking about 2 terrorists coming to the mainland, to the U.S., to the FBI's portfolio, the FBI's competency, the FBI's jurisdiction, whatever word you want to use. And that was not done.
There you have it, in his own words. It wasn't done. It wasn't shared. Now, we know for sure that the deputy chief of Alex Station, or Bin Laden Issue Station, was codenamed Alex Station. The Bin Laden Issue Station was Tom Wilshire, as I said before. When that cable came in, the very first person to read it was Tom Wilshire. The second person was Michelle Ann Casey. Third person was Doug Miller. So when Doug Miller drafted a cable trying to warn headquarters in Washington about 2 hijackers coming to the United States, he had to get authorization to share CIA information to the FBI. So that Miller email was read by Tom Wilshire, and Tom Wilshire told Michelle Ann Casey, please hold off per Wilshire. And the email warning the FBI about 2 Al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States was never sent. And Mark Rossini, who you just saw there, went to complain to Michelle Ann Casey why Doug Miller CIR report wasn't sent. Michelle Ann Casey says, we believe the next attack is in Southeast Asia, not in the United States. So when we want the FBI to know, we'll let them know. But you are not to share information to the FBI. They're inside the United States. It's the FBI's jurisdiction, not the CIA's. Tom Wilshire read the cable. Michelle Ann Casey read the cable. And according to other people that I've interviewed on the Darkened Hour, some people even said that, yeah, George Tenet did read the cable. Can he prove it? No. But we do know for sure that Tom Wilshire and Michelle Ann Casey read the cable, for sure. So George Tenet, unless he doesn't know that, which is incredible because he's the director, information goes up, not down. How would he not know? At least we may have a chance of getting perjury here. Knowing that there are 2 Al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States and the CIA sat on that information. Now, let's go to another clip, which you're going to find quite interesting.
Now we have a meeting in the year 2002 in New York City. And this is a meeting of a CIA analyst and FBI officials from the New York field office, which was the office investigating the Cole bombing and the FBI headquarters, including the FBI analyst on detail to the counterterrorist center at the CIA. The FBI agents on the Cole bombing pressed the CIA at that meeting for information regarding Midhar and the Malaysia meeting, but the CIA representative denied them that information. It's a very specific finding in the staff report that there was a refusal to share that information relative to Midhar and Malaysia and as to why the CIA was tracking Midhar at a June 2001 meeting on the specific request of an FBI agent in New York. My question is, do you know why that CIA agent refused to tell the CIA agent what the FBI, what the CIA, let me start over. Do you know why the CIA agent refused to tell the FBI agent what the CIA agent knew when the FBI agent specifically said, why are you tracking Midhar?
We're going to have a disagreement on the facts here. And here are the facts as I understand them. There were 3 people who left New York to go to Washington to go to New York that day. It was an FBI analyst from FBI headquarters, an FBI analyst from our counterterrorism center, and our analyst. They went up to discuss the Cole investigation. The FBI analyst from FBI headquarters brought the surveillance photos with her, and at the end of a conversation, and I've now talked to 2 of the people involved, Senator, the FBI analyst from FBI headquarters handed the surveillance photos to the New York field office personnel. There was some discussion about them. Indeed, they were talking about different people. Midhar was not who they were talking about in this meeting. When I asked our person at this meeting as to whether he was specifically asked about Midhar and Hazmi, he has no recollection of the subject ever being directed to him or ever coming up. So there's a factual issue here, and I've only talked to 2 of the people involved.
Let me read you the staff report. The CIA analyst who attended the New York meeting acknowledged to the Joint Inquiry staff that he had seen the information regarding al-Midhar's U.S. visa and al-Hazmi's travel to the United States, but he stated that he would not share information outside of the CIA unless he had authority to do so. That's what he told our staff. Do you disagree with that?
Sir, I've talked to him as well.
Do you disagree that he said that to our staff?
Well, no, I don't disagree. He said it to your staff. I'm telling you what
Did he tell you something differently?
Yes, sir. He
Okay.
gave me a different perspective.
So he told you and he told our staff something differently.
Well,
okay.
But I think it's important, sir.
Yeah, but our time is limited, so let me just keep going. That's the answer. He told you something differently from what he told our staff. Mr. Mueller, Director Mueller, at that June 11th meeting, did the FBI know that Midhar and Hazmi were at the January 2000 meeting of al-Qaeda operatives in Malaysia?
I don't believe they did.
All right. So we still don't know in June of 2001 what the CIA has known for 15 months.
There you have it, right? So what do we have? This is a June 11th meeting, another meeting. So I'm going to explain who is at this meeting. The CIA analyst at this meeting is Clark Shannon. The FBI analyst who is on loan to the Bin Laden issue station is Margaret Gillespie. The FBI analyst at headquarters, New York office, is Steve Bongar. So they're talking about pictures that were taken at the Malaysia summit meeting, because the Malaysian authorities, who were told by the CIA to take pictures of this meeting, took pictures of everybody who attended. There was a lot of big names there. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Walid bin Atash, he's known as Khalad, Ramzi bin al-Shib, Khalid al-Binard, and Wapa Hazmi, written with Nismuddin. Some of these names are in Guantanamo. Okay, so the Malaysian authorities faxed the photographs of these people to CIA's counterterrorism unit. So now the CIA wants to know what the FBI knows. Do they know that these guys are inside the United States? We got to go fishing. So they sent this analyst, show him these pictures. Hey, do you know anybody in these pictures? And the FBI is like, who are these guys? And Clark Shannon says, I can't tell you that. I'm not allowed to tell you that. And he's not even telling them that they're inside the United States. He only told them that they had Saudi passports. He didn't tell them that they had used visas, tourist visas, and that they were already inside the United States. This is June of 2001, no less. So the FBI is like, why are you following these guys? He goes, I can't tell you that. Well, fast forward to the Joint House inquiry. Clark Shannon gave closed-door testimony to Joint Inquiry and said, I was given specific instructions not to share any information about who's in these pictures with the FBI. he basically was asked, who told you that? The director, the DCI, George Tenet. George Tenet here is saying, I never said that. And that's why you hear Levin says, well, he told our staff something different, and he told you something different. And Tenet says, obviously, yeah. Somebody's lying. Why is the CIA covering up 2 Al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States? Well, the general consensus is that, oh, we're trying to flip them. These guys don't speak English. There's hardly any Arab linguists. In fact, that was the CIA's argument. Oh, we need more Arab linguists. That was the FBI's argument as well. We don't have many Arab linguists except for Ali Soufan. And he's in Yemen, investigating the Cole attack. Those are just small examples I'm showing you. I'm not showing you everything. But if you're, listen, I can give you name. We can get names to faces to information. This is what I'm trying to tell you here. And I know there's a couple of people out there in the truth movement. You know who you are, especially one person. Hey, guess what, man? I could fit names to faces regarding maybe certain crimes. And this is just a small example. Think the lawyers committee would be interested in this? Well, half of their panel don't even believe in hijackers. But there is somebody that we could probably reach on that panel. And if you're watching this video, you know who you are, sir. Something tells me that you too are sick and tired, 21 years of no results. I know you're arguing about standing right now at the grand jury, concentrating on the collapse of the towers. You don't have any suspects, not going to get very far. Guess what? Can't ignore this. Think we have a case for perjury? Maybe even something else? A willful intention of not sharing information with the FBI about 2 hijackers inside the United States? It's something. Better than nothing. Better than no results. But if you're going to keep concentrating on ground zero or hang around with people or espouse that hijackers weren't on these planes, that there's crisis actors and fake phone calls and drones outfitted to look like planes, you're going to be spending the next 20 years contemplating those thoughts, going nowhere. Because if any of those fringe conspiracies had any merit or legitimacy, you would have already tried that in court. So, for those in the truth movement who are sick and tired, who are exasperated by a lack of results, it's high time you start correcting your mistakes. And it's not going to come overnight. I'm trying to plant a seed in your head and tell you that certain people that you're following, that you respect their work, may not be those people that you want to take serious anymore. I'm not going to name names, but there's so many of them out there. Very few people who are very good researchers. But you're going to have to make a decision about wanting to put in the work, the effort, in trying to understand the geopolitical aspects of 9/11, because that's where most of the answers are going to come from. And we could put names to faces. And I just gave you a small example. I hope I reach somebody. Have a good night.